A tech giant be held responsible for following a presidential order? Well, that is what is at stake here in a possible lawsuit over the name change for the Gulf of America. Mexico's president is threatening to take Google to court over the change. Joining me now to talk about it, Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes. And Khalif, Mexico's president threatening this civil lawsuit. Are there any grounds here to take the tech company to task?
I'm not sure what they'd be suing on. I mean, a number of times you have to first be a party that's injured, right? So that's the first thing. I mean, I guess they may have a party. They may be a party that's injured because if your name is Mexico and someone's calling you by a different name, you do have an injury. So there's an injury in fact. I think they jump over that first hurdle. But then, well, what are you suing for? And I'm struggling and grasping at straws to figure out what is the argument there that they could be suing for. I know that today that the president said they're waiting for Google to respond to a letter requesting that they be full change back. And I say full change back because you got to look at it. If you're in the United States, you will see if you pull it up on Google Maps that it says Gulf of America. But if you're in Mexico, it will still say Gulf of Mexico. And if you're in other parts of the world, it will say Gulf of Mexico / Gulf of America. So everyone is confused in, understanding at the same time that it's geographic location based. So I think that also will probably add a couple of problems because if you're in Mexico, you don't really have not really been injured because you're still seeing it the same way you were even after the president's executive order. So I think this claim, if there is a claim, will fall for a couple of reasons because first you have to have an injury and you have to point to specifically notifying what that injury is.
Yeah, it's not just Google that Mexico's president is trying to go look at here because you also have Apple, Mac. They've changed their maps as well.
You have just going after all the techs. I mean, the only agency that has wholeheartedly said we're rejecting this request is AP. And AP's argument is that, look, we distribute our news across the world and we have a global base that's looking for us to be consistent. And so they've stressed consistency across the board. But I looked at a number of places. I looked for precedent for situations where this has happened. And it's hard because this is all ever growing, ever moving. The one example I can point to is another Mexican-American situation, the Rio Grande. That's what we call it here. They call it the Rio Bravo there in Mexico. But when you look at the maps, because I'm here in the United States, all I see is the Rio Grande. I mean, those are situations where I can only look at, and there's been no legal challenges. So I think this will be another case of first impression. Well, if this is taken to court, the court will have to say, what is the argument? What are you saying? And what is your actual injury?
Yeah, and it certainly is going to play out, and a lot of people are going to be still calling the Gulf of Mexico.
At least for the next 4 years, we'll have a fight to see what happens after.
Yeah, or the Gulf of America, and we'll have to see who does it where, what they're also going to be taught in schools as well.